What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Triple Z. I'm your host, Isaiah Henry. Giannis Antetokounmpo has suffered another calf strain injury, forcing him to exit Friday night's game against the Denver Nuggets with 32 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Despite Milwaukee coming all the way back from a 23-point deficit, they ultimately lost at home. Disappointing loss versus Denver, who had only one active starter in Aaron Gordon. Meanwhile, Milwaukee did play Giannis Antetokounmpo, Gary Harris, Ryan Rollins, Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis. Giannis, after the game, told the media he has a right calf strain injury and expects to miss 4 to 6 weeks. This is an injury he's familiar with, as it previously sidelined him for 3 weeks in the month of December. The Bucks during that stretch went 3-11 without Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks front office intended to be buyers before the February 5th trade deadline. They want to keep their superstar player Giannis happy by trying to put together a contending group around him in a wide open Eastern Conference and remain hopeful of turning their season around for the better. But with this Giannis injury, they have to pivot. There's no sense of being buyers when your best player is going to miss multiple weeks while having a record of 18-26 and sitting 11th in the Eastern Conference. It's time for Milwaukee to trade Giannis. This is nothing new. As an organization, they have done everything in their power when possible to put a legit contending team around Giannis. Traded for Jrue Holiday, which resulted in the Bucks winning their first championship in nearly 50 years back in 2021. Once Holiday time was up in Milwaukee, they acquired Damian Lillard to pair with the Greek Freak. They hired Doc Rivers as the new head coach. They got 2 years of Dame and Giannis, and everyone thought that was the new powerhouse in the Eastern Conference. It wasn't successful, as both players experienced injuries during the postseason, which prevented the Bucks from making it out of the first round. The Bucks traded Damian Lillard back to Portland, stretching his contract so they were able to acquire a player like Miles Turner. That trade, in my opinion, barely moved the needle, but the Bucks were desperate to make a move to show Giannis that they were willing to commit improving the roster around him. That roster is 2.5 games back out of the play-in tournament, losing record at home and on the road, 24th in offense, 21st in defense, with a net rating of -3.5. Milwaukee should stop the bleeding and make Giannis available before the deadline. He's a top 3 player in the world, still in his prime. He deserves better than what he has right now. And the reason why Milwaukee isn't able to provide more for Giannis is because they have little to no draft capital to pair with players like Bobby Portis and Kyle Kuzma in a package deal. So the rumors of the Bucks acquiring Ja Morant, Miles Bridges, DeAndre Hunter, Zach LaVine, that's damn near impossible for the Bucks to acquire those players because they have little to no draft capital. 90% of NBA teams are monitoring the Bucks and Giannis situation. Brian Windhorst mentioned that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the trade deadline, and the Bucks should use that to their leverage and do themselves a favor of receiving multiple draft picks and some young players in a Giannis package deal. On top of that, the Bucks have their own draft pick, which is a pick swap between themselves and the New Orleans Pelicans. That pick from New Orleans is going to the Atlanta Hawks. And when I looked at Tankathon earlier this morning, the Bucks are 8th in the lottery for the NBA 2026 draft. When the Bucks inevitably trade Giannis, they are going to do right by him and ask him what new teams he would like to be traded to. The Bucks aren't going to send Giannis to Washington, New Orleans, or a team that's tanking, or a team that has no chance of contending. Giannis has done so right by this organization for 13 years, bringing them a championship back in 2021, making them relevant for the past decade. The reason this inevitable departure is taking so long is because neither side wants to be seen as the bad guy. The Bucks organization trade away Giannis without him demanding a trade, despite his comments throughout the offseason, the regular season, after the Bucks lose a game, and he's saying that his teammates are playing selfishly. He doesn't know what's going to happen to him before the deadline. He's taking it day by day. The fan base will be devastated. The fans want Giannis to remain in Milwaukee for the rest of his career. And if the Bucks decide to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo, which they should do, which every Milwaukee fan should prepare themselves for Giannis being traded away from the Bucks, if Giannis doesn't come out and say, I want to trade, the Bucks fans are under the impression that Giannis wants to remain in Milwaukee for the remainder of his career. And for Giannis, he's probably fearful of being painted as the villain to the city of Milwaukee. He has publicly committed to this team and says he will never demand a trade, but he recognizes this team can't contend even in a wide open Eastern Conference. So come October, when Giannis is eligible to sign that extension, which is the Supermax, when it's time to sign it and Giannis declines the offer, that's Giannis Antetokounmpo saying, I'm not trying to spend the rest of my career in Milwaukee when this roster is nowhere near contention and I am still in my prime. This latest injury to Giannis changes the trajectory for the Milwaukee Bucks. There's really no reason to be buyers when your best player is out with another injury. And I feel as if teams are going to use that against the Milwaukee Bucks to maybe save themselves some draft pick, because they can always call the Bucks and say, hey, we want to make a pitch for Giannis, but instead of 4 draft picks, we'll give you 2 because he is dealing with this right calf strain that's been lingering him for the past 2 months. He's not going to make an All-NBA team. He's been missing multiple games in recent postseasons. So teams are going to use that to their leverage when calling in for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone is waiting for the ball to drop in Milwaukee. Someone has to rip off the Band-Aid, either the Bucks organization or Giannis, and I'm predicting it will be the Bucks. Not like the Bucks has failed Giannis, right? They put a legit team, going for Drew Holiday and having Bobby Portis and having all these pieces around Giannis where he can lead them to the promised land and win a championship in nearly 50 years from Milwaukee. So they reach their ceiling with Giannis. It's not as if they failed him or didn't put the best players around him. They were able to achieve the ultimate goal in the NBA. And by doing that, they gave away multiple draft picks for Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard. And while it did work with the Drew Holiday, it didn't work with Damian Lillard. And most people thought that trade was going to be the turning point for the Milwaukee Bucks, where they can be contenders in the Eastern Conference. Doc Rivers is out of there. There's no point of keeping Doc Rivers around, because why would Doc Rivers want to coach a rebuilding team? There's no sense of him being on the Bucks roster if Giannis Antetokounmpo is traded away. So if Giannis is traded, or when Giannis is traded, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to release Doc Rivers, and that's the last time we will see Doc Rivers as a head coach in the NBA. There's multiple trade packages out there for Giannis involving the Warriors and the Knicks. The Knicks make no sense to me. If the Bucks are trading away Giannis and they're 11, 2.5 games back of the play-in tournament, why would they want win-now players like Karl-Anthony Towns? Because if the Knicks and Bucks agree to a trade, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be in that package deal. And for the Warriors, they have some interesting pieces with Brandon Pajensky, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Quinton Post, and they have draft capital in 2028, 2029, I believe. And the Warriors are going to be transitioning without Steph, without Draymond, without Steve Kerr. Those draft picks from the Warriors can be valuable to the Milwaukee Bucks in the future if they come to terms on trading Giannis to the Golden State Warriors. Giannis, if he comes out and asks for a trade, there's nobody in the basketball world that would dare question Giannis asking for a trade. Even Milwaukee Bucks fan, they can be sad about Giannis leaving, but they can't question why is he leaving? Why is he not displaying his loyalty? He said he would never ask for a trade. Like, are you serious? Like, look at your team. Giannis is not going anywhere in a wide open Eastern Conference, mind you that, with Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, Miles Turner, Ryan Rollins. Like, it's not going to work. Giannis is the best player in the conference. I know Jaylen Brown's popping off. Jalen Brunson is doing great. He's an all-star starter. Same with Tyrese Maxey. But Giannis is still a top 3 player in the world. And he can't even drag along this roster to a play-in spot. That's very concerning. So if Giannis wants to ask for a trade, nobody's going to question it. And if they do question it, they're a damn fool. Thank you for listening to Triple Z. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Where do you think Giannis Antetokounmpo will be traded to? Will he be traded before the deadline, or will he be traded during the offseason? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. I'll see you guys next time.